Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today, as you can see, it's a lovely day here in the UK, and I thought, you know what, let me make the most of it because God knows I need my vitamin D. If you're a dark-skinned person like I am, then you definitely need the vitamin. You need the sun, because for you to get the vitamin D, your body is the one that actually makes the vitamin D. So for your body to make the vitamin D, it needs the sun to do that. The sun is the best source. Yes, we can take tablets, we can eat food that actually give us the vitamin D, but the sun is the best source. So anyway, today I'm having a mini picnic while I make this video. In this video, I want to tell you a story, my story of what happened when I came to the UK, how I was a teacher back home. Actually, I was an infant specialist. That's what is on my certificate, because I trained as a primary school teacher with infant specialization. So I am an infant specialist, meaning that I teach those kids who are starting school, kids who don't know how to hold their pen, they don't know how to read, they don't know what the letter A is or what it looks like. Although I can teach any age group as long as it's primary, I can. So that's the kind of teacher I was in Zimbabwe. I went to Masvingo Teachers College, and I also know that the college has greatly improved. It looks so much better now. But when I went there, it was lovely as well. It was a beautiful college, well maintained, clean. We had lovely halls, lecture halls and everything. I mean, I remember my lecturers back then, lovely. I mean, what's not to like? Zimbabwe was the land of milk and honey, as I remember it. So I had good education at Masvingo Teachers College, and I graduated at the top of my class in theory of education, and I got a trophy. If you go to Masvingo Teachers College today, you will see my name on the Makahamadze trophy. I was honored because I did very well in theory of education. So theory of education comprised of psychology, sociology, and philosophy. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I enjoyed my teacher's training. I mean, I learned a lot. There's a lot that is up here. And this is why I made the video that I made last time, that people who've been to school in Zimbabwe, they are all scattered all over the world now. All those brains, all that knowledge that could be injected in Zimbabwe, that could be benefiting our beautiful Zimbabwe, is not there. All that knowledge is now outside. And that is what we need to be thinking about. The fact that that is happening, that has happened, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I made the video, and some people get triggered when I make such videos to say, oh, we need to be thinking about developing our countries. We need to be thinking about developing Zimbabwe. So anyway, back to today's video. I'm going off on a tangent. So things happened, things started changing in Zimbabwe, as we all know. So sometime towards the end of 1999, that's when the conversation of me, the possibility of me coming to the UK started. At the time, I knew of a few people who were already here, and they seemed to be doing well. They were telling us good things about the UK, great things. So things sounded really promising. I mean, as I was listening to people talk about life in the UK, I was like, wow, it would be really nice if I could go there. I wanted to go there. I wanted to come here. So came 2000, middle of 2000. By then, the idea of relocating was already on my mind. I was really starting to entertain the idea, because as I was growing up, I never really imagined myself relocating. Of course, my father had been to Germany. He had been to countries in Europe through his work, but he always went to Germany. He always went to all those countries, Denmark and so on, and came back because it was just his job. But it really never occurred to me that I would actually want to move abroad and live abroad. But it happened. When I came to the UK, I thought at some point I will be able to become a teacher. I will be able to teach here in the UK. This was my wish. That's what I thought would happen, because why not? I was qualified. I was a good teacher. So as far as I was concerned, it was a done deal. All I needed to do was sort out my papers, my visa situation, and start teaching. So When I came to the UK, I joined an agency and they started sending me to care homes, nursing homes, and so on. So my very first job was as a carer, but I'll tell you how I became a cleaner in a second. So my first job was as a carer. So I went there. It was my first time. I had to ask people to show me how to change some nappies, how to clean a person, how to do, all those things that people do in care homes, because I had never done it before. Of course, I had looked after sick people before because I had relatives who were sick and I had looked after them, but not like that. You go to work, you do a 10-hour shift, a 12-hour shift, changing people's nappies, cleaning them, doing all those kind of things that we do in nursing homes. I had never really experienced that before. So that was my first time here in the UK. So how I became a cleaner, or how things shifted from me being a carer to cleaner, was there was a time when there were no shifts. Because if you work for an agency, you have to wait until they call you to go to a shift. And if they tell you you don't have any work at the moment, then you just have to wait if you don't have any other job to go to. So that was the case with me. I relied on that agency to give me work. So one week, I spent Monday just sitting by the phone, waiting for them to call me to a shift, which they didn't do. They said, sorry, we don't have any work at the moment. We'll call you as soon as something comes up. Monday came, went by, and then Tuesday came. I called the agency, do you have any work for me, please? Because I'm starting to worry. I'm getting a bit desperate because my rent will be due at the end of the month and I don't want to be in trouble with my landlord. They said, sorry, we don't have any work. And then Wednesday came, no phone call. The phone was just quiet. And by this point, I was really stressed. And then I called the agent. I said, you know what? I'm willing to do anything. Please give me something. And they said, okay, we have a shift. I don't know if you're going to like it. It's a cleaning job. And actually, the person has got quite a few shifts going. So you can do it if you want. And they told me the rate, which was a little bit lower than care work. And because I was desperate, I said, you know what? I'll take it. I'll do the shifts. I'll clean. And so they booked me those shifts. It was block booking, meaning that I had several days doing that job. So that's how I started the cleaning job. So they started sending me to these different places to clean. So the first place I went to, I cleaned toilets of one of the Crown Courts in the UK. So I went there, I cleaned the toilets, and I cleaned the cells as well. So that experience was a little bit strange for me. It was a little bit weird. And the next place they took me to was a school. I went to clean the toilets there and the classrooms there. And I remember at some point, as I was cleaning, standing in the middle of one of the classrooms. It was one of the infant classrooms. I remember looking around and seeing these flashcards, seeing these charts on the wall, colorful charts, and all the things I used to make when I was in Zimbabwe, when I was teaching. I remember breaking down. I broke down in tears. I cried and I cried and I cried. I was like, why, Lord? Is this why I came here? I was a teacher back home, and now I'm cleaning the toilets. I should be the one teaching. I should be the one standing in front of that classroom teaching. But here I am, cleaning the classrooms. I'm cleaning the toilets. I'm picking after the rubbish. I cried. That day was a painful day for me. It was the day when reality set in. That harsh reality kicked in. All this time, I wasn't really taking it all in. I wasn't really processing things like that. But it was that day, standing in the middle of that classroom, holding a broom, looking around at everything, at the little tables, little chairs. That's the day when my reality set in. That's the day I realized things had changed. I realized I was now in a foreign land, because up to this point, I never really had time to think about it. It never really sunk in. I was busy chasing those shifts, chasing the pound, calculating how much money I was going to get every week. But it was in that moment when I felt it, and it pained me. The reason it pained me was not because I was cleaning. There's nothing wrong with cleaning. It's an honest job. It's an important job. We need cleaners. But the reason I felt that pain was the fact that here I was, a qualified teacher, and I was thinking I should be the one standing in front of that classroom teaching, because that's what I was doing back home. I was a teacher back home. I was the one making those flashcards. I was the one planning those lessons. I was the one who, during the holidays, I was doing my scheming. If you're a teacher, you know what I mean. I don't know if you still do that in Zimbabwe, but I remember I used to have, what do we call them? You know, those thick, what do we call those books, those thick books? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We used to have those books. And I remember during the holidays, I would sit down with my books and do my planning, to plan all my lessons for the next coming term. So we used to call it scheming. Scheming was like a summary version of planning, because we would do the scheming first and then do the lesson plans. So the lesson plans were a little bit more detailed than the scheming bit. So anyway, as I was looking around this classroom, all those memories were coming back to me, and I was feeling it. I was really feeling it. So why am I telling you this story today? I'm telling you this story for a couple of reasons. Could be 3 reasons. But the first reason is for transparency. Just to be honest about our challenges when we relocate. Because as I said in my other video, sometimes we only focus on the glamorous side of things, because there is a glamorous side of things as well. I have to be honest about that, if I may use that word, because there is a good side of things as well. Plenty of good things when you relocate. As I've said in my previous videos, moving abroad affords you many opportunities, job opportunities, and it makes you appreciate different ways of doing things, different ways of seeing life. So it broadens your horizon. You become a better person, I would say, and it makes you resilient as well. So there's a lot to be said about moving abroad. Another reason as well is just awareness, to make people aware that your qualifications, the qualifications that you attained back home, may not always be recognized here in the UK. There are times when you may have to do some courses to top up your qualifications from back home. Sometimes you may have to do work experience to be recognized as fully qualified. You may have to start the course from scratch, I'm afraid. It all depends on the qualification, on what the requirements are when it comes to the UK. It is not always a guarantee that when you come to the UK, your qualifications will be automatically recognized or will be recognized at all. It is not always the case. As was with my case, after I sorted out my visa situation and I tried to get into teaching, I sent my certificate. There's an organization here in the UK called UK NARIC. So you send your qualification there and they'll look at the qualifications, and then they'll be able to tell you what status you are exactly when it comes to the UK standards. So in my situation, because I had only done a diploma back home, my qualifications were equivalent at the time. They were equivalent to a BTEC. That's what I was told. So they will actually send you a certificate, a BTEC certificate. So unfortunately, in my case, I wasn't qualified. I did not get the full teacher status because of my diploma. But I know that if you have a degree in Zimbabwe, I'm sure you can become a teacher here in the UK. I've heard, or I've seen rather, I know of teachers who are teaching here in the UK who qualified in Zimbabwe. So anyway, if you're a teacher, you can share with us in the comment section as to how things are now. So anyway, they said as well, if I wanted to be a teacher, I needed to do like a proper course, which was going to cost me a lot of money. So for me at the time, it wasn't an option. And I decided, you know what? I'm not completely satisfied with where I am at the moment. Yes, I'm doing care work, I'm doing this and that, and those jobs are fulfilling. I'm not saying care work is not a good job or it's not fulfilling. It is fulfilling. It is a good job, honest job, but for me, it wasn't what I really wanted to do. It wasn't me. So I decided I needed to do something about it. That's the other thing as well, why I'm making this video. If you are somewhere in life, if you're here in the UK and you're not happy with where you are in life, maybe you're doing a certain job, whatever situation that you find yourself in, if you're not happy, then the only thing you can do is to change it. So in my case, I had to do something about my situation because I wasn't completely happy, completely satisfied with where I was. So I had to go to school. I can now look myself in the mirror and be happy with myself. I say this to say that only you can change your circumstances. In the UK, like I said before, the good thing about the UK is it's a fair country. As long as you are legal, your paperwork are in order, there are opportunities. You just have to want to grab those opportunities. You just have to do what it takes. If you need to go to college, to university, then do it. If they say your level of English is not up to the standard, maybe you want to become a midwife, maybe you want to become a doctor, but your English is not yet there, because if you do this sort of jobs, communication is important. You need to be able to communicate effectively, otherwise you put the patients at risk. So if that's what you need to do, if you need to learn those English lessons, then do it. Whatever it is that you need to do to be qualified to do the job of your dreams, then do it. Because sometimes we become disillusioned, we become demoralized by a situation, by a country, by a place, because we are not doing what we need to do to change our situation, to change our circumstances. So cleaning those toilets humbled me. This is one thing I'll say. UK will humble you. Some people say UK ndimaenzanise. Yeah, that's what they mean. If you hear someone say UK ndimaenzanise, they are talking about the humbling experiences that we face here abroad. The challenges that we face, that's what they're talking about. You will learn humility. In a way, it's a good thing that I went through. I actually like the fact that I experienced all of that. I like it. I've done all kinds of jobs in this country. I've done all kinds of jobs. And I'm actually pleased I did. I'm happy I did. I never regret anything. But I'm just telling you this story for the purpose of highlighting, for the purpose of motivating, educating one another, just, transparency. But if I'm to be honest, had I not experienced all these challenges in my life, whether it's relocation or everything that has happened in my life up to this day, I don't think I would be the way I am today. And I like the way I am. I have learned to be resilient. I have learned to work hard. I learned the value of hard work. I have learned to pick myself up, to bounce back, and I've learned to flip the script, to use adversity to my advantage. What I'm doing right now is me using adversity to my advantage. I'm using adversity to my advantage in that I'm able to do this video, to talk the way I'm talking, with confidence, with authority, because I have experienced these things. It's not something I've read from a book. So that adversity has given me this opportunity, this privilege to make this video. So I'm using that to my advantage. And other experiences as well that I've gone through, I use them to my advantage by writing a book. I've been able to write my story, and also I use my experiences when I sit down with my daughters, teaching them about something, teaching them about life. I also use my example. So it's a real opportunity, it's a privilege being able to do that. So that's how you flip the script. You use your experiences to your advantage. So that's why I'm glad I did all these things. I'm glad, I really am glad, because they change you as a person. And for the better, you become a better person. And you learn to appreciate as well people who are in similar situations as well. You learn to appreciate. And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with being a cleaner. It's a good job. It's an honest job, an important job. There's nothing wrong with it. And some of the most highly paid people are cleaners. I mean, that's another story, but cleaning actually is a profitable thing. And you can also start your own business, your cleaning business as well. Because if you've had this experience, it's a real opportunity, because you understand cleaning. You understand what's involved. You understand what is needed. You know the equipment. You know. So everything you go through in life is an opportunity. This is what I really want people to understand. Everything you go through in this life is an opportunity. There's an opportunity there. In every adversity lies opportunity.